Well, all right. Hello, hello. We are back again for another Wet Ink Wednesday, and I'm joined once again by my business partner and brother-in-law and good friend and co-creator of Wild Skies and Never Going Home, Brandon Ayton. Hey, Brandon.
Hey Matt. Ah, I'm shaking off all of the snow and candy canes and tinsel, you know, from the holiday and trying to be on a somewhat normal sleep schedule. I'm not there yet, but I'll get there.
Right, we are recording this in the nebulous time between Christmas and New Year's Day, where time doesn't matter, and everyone has. It seems many people have reduced goals. Like, I mean, I've been uh, like I try to do a little bit of work almost every day of the year, and but I have done very little work the last couple
My,
days.
you know, in my past life in corporate offices, people would say, "Oh, that's a upon my return,
Mm,
email that I'm going to send." That's future Brandon's problem.
right, out of office email.
Yeah.
Bing, not here. Not looking at this. Uh,
Yeah. Let's circle back after the holiday. That was a
yeah.
common phrase.
hmm Yeah, I mean I've got stuff I did. I worked really hard in November to record all of my December videos. Um, and then one of the things I've done in December is I have sent out my emails and gotten arranging stuff to record in January. So it's like I was a month ahead at the beginning of December, but now I'm like, there's no videos in the can. This one that I'm recording is the first one to it'll be up within a matter of days. Like I did not worry about maintaining my being ahead for the videos. Because it's just the kind of year that's the time of year it is.
Oh yeah.
Circling back in
We
January.
Yeah. We have so much stuff that's moving forward, and it's at that point where things are technically out of our our individual hands for the time
Mm,
being.
yeah.
So, and which is
Well,
which is a good place for things to be, but it's
sh-
making sure we can get to that next step.
yeah, well, we're gonna talk more about that at the end. First off, we want to talk about like kind of what happened in the last few months. We last of these little chats came out in October. And since then, we've been to technically to three conventions, no, four conventions since then,
Uh,
um, which is uh, wild that we ended up stacked at the end of the year that way. Um, uh, Two of them were very small. Two of them were very small, but still, we had a presence. We went to places. So
yeah.
the big ones were Gamehole Con and in October and PAX Unplugged in December. And we went to a local cryptid festival called Goatman Festival, and you went to a maker fair.
Yes, hosted by our local university or
Yeah.
in conjunction with our local university. And yeah, and it was good to meet people from around the region who are creating visual arts and doing other things as well. So I mean, it's not normally our scene, and it's probably not gonna, those are not the kinds of events that Wet Ink Games is gonna go to. But it was local. It was a in inexpensive booth space. We got to make some connections, and we knew people on the board of the event. And you know, it was a lot of things that lined up. If I had literally anything else to do that Saturday, I may not have been there. Uh, but I got to go, and my 12-year-old was able to go and sit at the booth and help out and kind of see how the sausage is made too. So
Hey, that's cool.
a little introduction to that for him.
Yeah, I was playing games with the family, and one of my nephews, I'm like, hey, do you like games? Do you want to like work at a work at a booth sometime? Young college person. Um, and they were like, I'm in college in another city, so no, but thanks for thinking of me. Anyway, it's fun to, I don't know, it's fun to, bring family along, I guess is what I'm saying.
Yeah, absolutely. Uh, yeah, I think the four cons that we went to. I mean, Goatman Festival again is local, and it's our local cryptid, down here in Louisville, Kentucky, or right outside of Louisville, in J-Town, Kentucky. Um, and it's it was a fun little event. And I think that's something that I think I might, take the kids to around, Halloween and spoopy season. But, again, that's not something that will be, having a large presence at. I don't think anyone has a
Right.
large presence. That it's a very small
It's a
event, but
small
it's
event.
it's fun. It's kind of like, you go to those farms or whatever, and they have like, oh, we have a haunted woods out here, outside the
Oh
field.
yeah.
And
There was
it's
definitely a
slightly
haunted
more
woods.
organized than that, but it was, um,
Oh yeah, it
and it
was,
was it was a cool event, but it's just not
I
that
mean,
it's
it's,
not our scene.
yeah, I mean, we were between like another local RPG seller, bloat games, and a guy selling like vintage toys, and all of the attention was on the guy selling vintage toys. Like
Right,
that is the it was a fun event to be at, but the buying public was more interested in stuff that was not nice role-playing games.
right.
Nice new role-playing games. Um, but yeah, it was interesting to go and see some of the, I went to one lecture about like Fortean investigations, and we got to do some of the events, so that was interesting.
Yeah, like I think that kind of stuff that's the appeal of it for me. Is I would go as an attendee, right?
Mm.
I would as
Which
a
I think it's free, like it's
right. Like I would just go. I would take the kids and we'd go to the Goatman Festival and
sure.
you know you do that on a Friday or Saturday night, and for um I think for us, having a presence there, I don't think Wet Ink Games necessarily will be back, and unless they're doing something drastically different in the future. But it's a cool event, and I would definitely advocate for attendance at the event. Going and hearing some of the talks and seeing the old movies and getting to see some of the people who you know they, they're really 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 into the cryptid scene and showing up in like cryptid cosplay and stuff. It's I it's really fun. It's a
Yeah,
really
right.
fun place to go.
I mean, it's one of those things. Like, we've encountered this a lot. Like, people talk about events to go to, and oh, it's really fun to play play games at this event. It's like, but how are sales? And like, oh, sales are terrible, but it's really fun to go play games. And I'm like, but I'm not going to drive to another state to have bad sales. And
Right,
or this
exactly.
one, it's like, oh, the cryptid cosplay is on point, and you can hear lectures about like Mothman and the Bell Witch, and I'm like, great, but how are sales? And it's like, oh, well, people are buying like monster art. And I'm like, well, we don't sell monster art exactly. We have some of our books have monster art in them, but people aren't
Right.
there to buy that. They're, the felted cryptids and the cryptid logo t-shirts and stuff that were on sale there are all amazing.
Yeah.
But like people who want that don't necessarily also want a role-playing game where you can use your psychic powers to escape from a sentient Halloween decoration, like
Right.
that is it the overlap there is a real little thin slice. So
Yeah.
um anyway, but we wouldn't know unless we went and tried.
I know. And that's, this entire year we said that we wanted to get out more, try more local or smaller cons, and presence what that presence would entail, both from an investment of resources and time as a resource. And some of the events there are some local cons that I think would be fun to to try in the future, but we're quickly getting to that point where we are outscaling some of those and
Well, I think it's just knowing about the focus, right? Like,
right. Exactly. It's like the like you had just mentioned, what's the how are sales? There's all kinds of conventions I, as a nerd and a gamer, would like to go to, right? Yes,
right.
absolutely. Is that a wet ink games business decision that is good? No.
Hmm.
So, there are conventions that in the past have been excellent, excellent networking conventions and resources to see games that are in design. And some of these are still things that are highly regarded. Some are we've just heard buzz about how things aren't as good as they used to be. And so when they were on our radar, do they just stay on our radar? These are all choices that we have to make and figure out what works best
Oh, these
while still
times.
continuing to move our projects forward, right? Like that's
Right.
the other balance. Like if we're spending that time and investing that time in doing that, because we're a two-man shop, and having
Well, that's what you
if
said about time as a resource,
right, if we don't have a dedicated team or staff that can help with certain things, then it makes things harder.
right?
Yeah.
So do we want to talk about Gamehole, like some of the bigger cons? Like, I don't know if
Yeah,
we
game
need
hole.
to. Like,
Yeah, let's talk about
Gamehole
game hole.
was one we went to last year where, as an experiment, right? Like, we've heard good things. Let's go check it out. We liked it well enough to come back. And again, it's not the biggest con ever, but you do that cost benefit analysis and it still seems like worth going, both for the FaceTime with people, other creators, because it is a relatively chill event. You can spend time talking to peers, um, who are there selling stuff and fans. And so we had good opportunities. I got to be on a panel, one of my first panels ever. I've never been like a panel person. Some people make it a focus of their con attendance, but I never have. But was asked to be on one, and so that was kind of interesting just to do a new thing at a convention. So, um, but then also we did sell, a certain amount of stuff.
Yeah.
So it's
It's
it's it's a good show for that. Like,
it continues to be a good show for us.
mhm.
It's the two of us, and we um having there may be additional help in the future. It's one of those things where we don't necessarily need additional help for a con like that, and con that size, but it is a good, fun convention. Sales are pretty steady throughout. It was the very first place that we had 0 Day War. Um,
Was
and we had home there, and home continued to be a good seller, and the positive response from the game uh, and the design when talking about that with customers and other designers. Um, so and again, never going home always does well at all of these things. So
well, and
it
then
was it was
new
good to
books
be
this
able
year for
to
that.
kind of have our setup and say, okay, 0 Day Wars over here, we can talk to you about that. Home's over here, we can talk to you about that. And
Yeah,
it kind of it was good.
we had a 10 by 20, so we had 0 Day War set up on one end of the booth, as as if you were in the middle of the game. We could talk through it, and then all the way around on the other end of the booth, we had the same for home. Did we? I mean, I can't imagine that we. There's no other place that we told the story, like to the public, right? I mean, we've told the story. I think maybe I told it on Instagram, but like we were talking to somebody at Gamehole, and they were talking about home, and they were like, "Oh, we want to play it with like a whole lot of people. I think there's like 14 people that are going to play this game with us." And we're like, "What are you talking about?" Like, I mean, I mean, I was just sort of like, I mean, it's a 3 to 5 player game, right? So I was like, that would be extremely off-label use. I mean, look, you can figure it out. Like we're all gamers. We can figure out, you can figure out how to do that if that's what you want to do. But they were like, oh well, thanks. Well, we'll see. We'll be back tomorrow if we like it or whatever, you know. And so I'm like, I can't. I don't know what's gonna happen because I don't know how you're gonna play this 5 player game with 14 people simultaneously.
Yeah, they were like, we're gonna play it tonight.
Yeah, yeah. They were like, we're gonna play it tonight with 14 people, and I was like, wow, okay. I, good luck. I seriously hope you have fun because that is not the way it's designed to be played. But like, if you play, I mean, it's just drawing cards off a deck. I mean, you could play it that way, and that you have like a whole group of people that are in the house, and um. So anyway, that was something that was in the background. Simultaneously, we were arranging with a mostly I don't even remember Janet Patterson of
Yeah, Janet, like just
um
industry folk.
right. And she was arranging, she was like, we're gonna play tonight to come over to the hotel in the lobby. There's a game room there because of course there's a game room in the hotel that's next to the convention center, or you know, it's like just a meeting room, but it's like designated for like
Right.
games, right? And and so we were like, yeah, we're gonna play with Janet and Mark you know, John and I don't know, there was a whole list of people, right?
Oh
But
yeah.
not 14, not 14 people, like 6 people, right? And are like, well, that's fine. I'll sit out and then it'll be 5 and you know, whatever. So we go and we get to this room after dinner and all this stuff. And, you know, there's Janet and Mark and there's, you know, our buddy John Marin. And then these 2 people that we met at the booth who were going to play it with 14 people were also there in the room. And then Jonathan Myrie came and Doug Shute came and Michelle came. And it was like 12, it was 10 people. It was not 14 people, it was 10
Yeah.
people. And so then
So
we were like, well, we
we
have two.
split. We read two
Yeah,
games.
we have 2 copies of the game. So we ran it. We did 2 games simultaneously, which is 5 players each, but it was like they, I had no idea. I think maybe it's not a funny story to people
Oh
listening,
no,
but
I
I
think it's
think it's
great.
funny
Like, oh,
that
we're gonna play
like,
with 14 people. We're like, wait, what?
and, and
And then they
those
just
were, they
happen
were
to be
playing with us. I didn't know that they were going to be part of the group, right? And so,
right.
we were scheduled to play with people and it turned out that it was the same group and it was so we had 2 games at 2 different tables of 5 players each and each table had I think a pretty good time and
Oh yeah.
great game. It's a great game. So um it was everybody got to play it the way it's supposed to be played rather than inventing a new way to play with three
With
times
14
as many
people.
people as you're supposed to play it with.
And it was good to, you know, being able to um you know, I see some of the people that we've seen last year or at other cons who Gamehole Con is more local to them.
Hmm.
So we've gotten to see them. We got to hang out with people that we don't ever really get to hang out with in a way that we want to. So Gamehole Con being a little more intimate of a con was like it's a little more chill. Hey, let's go to dinner. Let's go over here. Let's
Yeah.
do these. And
And like
it
I met
continues to
Ethan
impress.
Yen last year at Gamehole Con when we were
Right.
there, and then like since last year, or well, between meeting him at Gamehole Con last year and right now, he's worked for us twice. So it's like
Right.
it's
Yeah.
it's great for that, right? To like those people because it's local to him, and so he was there, and that's you know he reached out and he's like, hey, I'm available to write, and it's like great. Well, we'll have you write a small thing and then write another thing and you know that there may be more coming in the future but it's like
Yeah.
it's great, a great con for that. I think I cut you off, you were saying something
No,
else.
no, no, no. It's a great con, great town. Gamehole Con is on the list for next year as well.
Oh
So
yeah,
the yeah, as
well,
long as they, you know, they're opening things up earlier than they have in the past, you know, it's fine. We're already booked for Origins and Gen Con and PAX Unplugged, and PAX East. Gamehole Con is being slotted in there.
right,
And then Gamma is our normal. It's in our town.
right,
So
it is for at least one more year. um
yeah,
so we'll see. Oh, I mean there's
yeah,
I mean we should talk after this interview call about Gamma because there's it's going to be different than last year for sure. um
yeah.
you know it's already bigger than last year,
Yeah.
just based on the floor plan and stuff like that. So we're gonna have to, uh, yeah, that's not this conversation, but yeah, that's coming up.
Yep. It's that's going to be a good one too. So,
I mean, we've talked for a while. We've got a bit more to cover. We should quickly talk about PAX Unplugged, another great con for us. Love going to PAX Unplugged, favorite show of the year.
yeah.
As in December, it feels like a capper to the year. This year we went with Sam Brick, the artist for Garbage and Glory. We had been aiming from the middle of the year. We'd been thinking maybe we could have Garbage and Glory out by the end of the year. So we arranged with Sam to go have him at the show, because we like to have, because we call ourselves an art forward company. Part of that is like giving over some of our booth space to our artists to sell their prints and their books, their zines, that kind of stuff. Sam sold stickers, and he sold a lot of stickers. People love stickers, and he was selling his stickers very well. But
Yeah.
getting to know him more than just, one meal a year, hanging out with him for basically 4 days in a row
Yeah.
was great.
He
Um,
he was a great guy. He was a great help. Very positive impact on the booth itself. The he was um he's a very cheery person, right? They're given any number of reasons he could have complained about something he didn't, and um I think that just, it speaks to his character. But again, he absolutely crushed it with his stickers and art. He was selling art prints and everything. And, just based on where Garbage and Glory is in production, he'll be there as long as he wants to be. He'll be there next year, and he'll be there, with us at Origins. He has his own booth at Origins, but he'll be able to have stuff, signed and whatever. I mean, he made very quick friends with one of our other artists and friends, Stephen Wu, and it was great seeing the interplay and the that they had, and looking at each other's art, and just talking about like the stuff that they do. It was very very fun to see, kind of that dynamic grow. These people who had never met before become fast friends. It was
yeah,
fun.
we, it, I mean, obviously there were a lot of sales. Like I thought that maybe we had 5 people officially in the booth, and I thought maybe that there would be time to get away from the booth and go. Um, but it felt like there were always people wanting
Yeah,
to talk about, what is this? What is this? Tell me about this game. Sell me on this game. And enough interactions that like everybody was busy basically the whole time,
yeah,
which is great. And then after hours, we did stuff like, we have friends that we usually see there. And so we saw them for dinner, and we have our own end of con traditions that we like to do. We did those. This year, we also, all 3 designers for Fast Cars and Family were at the show. Um, Doug
yeah.
Lewandowski's done a swing and a miss a couple times this year for his con attendance, at cons that we've been at. But this year he attended at the 100% of the con that he intended to attend.
Right.
And and so we got to see Doug, both in the booth and for playtesting. Sen and Chad were down from Canada. So the 3 designers plus Brandon and I plus Sam plus Steven was there drawing, and we had another guest, media type person. I don't know if they want to be named, but we had a table of people playing Fast Cars and Family, as an
And it was great.
early vision of the game. Obviously, there's more work to be done, but it worked out pretty well. And again, like Sam's
We
enthusiasm
did
would
an
be
early.
like,
I just would like to share this. We did an early version of kind of a session zero. Like
mhm,
you start your game in a race, right? And the which race is a game term, all that'll be detailed. However, that's part of your character creation, which I think is an absolute great choice, great design choice. And the designers have been tossing around calling it session 0 to 60, and I'm like, gold, keep it. That's fantastic. Love
Uh,
it.
y- right. It was it was fun to do that in person. We
Yeah.
have done some other testing over the internet, but to be able to be at a con, and I mean that's one of those, as a publisher, that's one of those like peripheral benefits of going to the con, is you can spend that time with the design team, right? Sitting around a table and playing the game, and it's so different than being in your online format, right? Even if it's almost the same, but like there's something extra about being able to have that true FaceTime at an event. And I mean, it's all opportunity cost, right? Like, I mean, we could have spent that time with other people. We could have spent that time doing other something else in the city, finding out, talking to people that we don't know as well. But then it's also valuable to spend time with people you do know, who are that, because you're working on a thing together, and you're
Yeah.
affirming that you've made the right choice to work together. And I don't know, it was great. It was just a nice evening there, with the design team, and Steven is doing the art for it, so he was working on a piece while the playtesting was happening, just listening in, and that was neat to watch him work, but also for him to be sort of part of the process in that way, where it's like, he's getting to see the game happening as he's drawing art for it.
Right.
So, um, real special night there. So,
Yeah. I think that was it was a great time. And I think the when that one is buttoned up, it's just gonna be a great game. Just a fun experience for everyone involved.
yeah, yeah, I think definitely the the progress over the year of the design team has really been working on it.
Yeah.
And yeah, like ideas, then putting ideas down, and then seeing those ideas work, and then like knowing that there's other pieces to still bring in, but you're building from a good place. I mean, it's that's just the way the design, it's the way that it's certainly one way to design a game. And there are many
Oh yeah.
ways to get to the finish line, but like having been part of this process has been nice to see these truly, I mean, top-notch designers, right? Doug Lewandowski, Senfung Lim, and Chad Nolan helping out as well. I mean, that has fewer credits than the other two, but not a slouch in terms of like an ideas person and an execution person, from what I've
Oh yeah.
seen. Um, but like
Yeah,
it's
he's been a great addition to the team.
yeah, and it's a good. I mean, they're working well together, and the game is happening. I mean, we're kind of getting into a future segment, but like that happened at PAX Unplugged, so that's why I was talking about it. But
Yeah.
that's sort of the update on that, is that game is getting worked on, and it's going to be done when it's going to be done. That's kind of maybe the bigger, unless we can kind of transition to talking about some of the things that we've got on our agenda here. But that's sort of the um, one of the lessons for me for the year has been like, development takes as long as development takes. Like it is been that way for the Never Going Home. It's been that way for Garbage and Glory. It's been that way for Precious Things. Here we're talking about Zero Day, or not Zero Day War, Fast Cars and Family. Like, these games they're great ideas, right? And if you put a timeline on it and say like it must be done by this time, maybe that inspires like people to get it done by the time, but like maybe it also makes for bad unfinished projects. If you just like you're designing it, you tell me when it's done, and if that takes
And
longer than expected, that's fine, because you want it to be a quality product.
I think that, that uh plays into, I think, kind of our, you know changes in business operations over the
Mm,
the coming years. In that, we have a lot of things that are in motion. We have a lot of things that are moving forward, but like with Herd and Zero Day War, those games were done. By the time we launched them on Kickstarter, and they were funded, right?
hmm.
And giving us an opportunity to say, great, what else needs to be modified here? Let's move it forward, and get that stuff into production, right? Like actual physical production, manufacturing.
Right. Our
Um,
crowdfunding for Zero Day War, I mean, this is still 2024 at the time of recording. Our crowdfunding was ended in February of 2024, and the game was out, and you could buy it at GameholeCon, and it had already gone to backers and everything
it had
in
already gone to
October.
backers in
So,
September.
like,
Uh,
that's 8 months turnaround from crowdfunding to delivery, which is that's the range we want to be in, but it takes having to do all the work first, you know.
yeah,
Um,
right. And so that's, I think, where where it is. When we first started on Kickstarter, Kickstarter was a place for ideas, right? You're like, hey, I
mhm.
have this idea, I want to do this. If you believe in my idea, fund it and let's make it. Kickstarter has become, especially in the game side, less and less that. And now it is hey, here is the finished product, right?
Right.
Like, back it now and then you'll get it. All right. You know, now, and I think that's just in the it's just baked in to the project, or to the platform now, um which isn't necessarily a problem, right? I think
Right. It is
you
it
have
is more
plenty
the
of people who
culture. I
are
mean,
like, I've never I don't back things on Kickstarter because I don't know if I'm ever going to get it, right? We as Wet
sure.
Ink Games never failed to deliver a Kickstarter. We're not planning on ever having that
A
hang over
successful
our head.
Kickstarter
Right. um
or
and so if our
crowdfunding.
Kickstarter funds, it will be delivered. Now, our things now have taken a little bit more time than we've hoped, but in the future, it's going to be one of those things where, if this is when we're funding it, the project is basically done, where all we have to do is understand what our print volume is going to be, and hit print and let it go. Now,
Right.
sure, things can change in the future, but that is what we're leaning towards, because it's just not fair to have something that people are excited about and hopeful about. It's not that it's not fair, it's just not it's not the best practice, right? Like, so
Right. I mean,
being
if
able
you're
to say, let's fund this, let's get the idea out there, let's get people excited about it, and let's move it forward, and then it lingers, it's just not a good look. And we, as Wet Ink, have decided we don't want that fan experience. We
right.
want a more positive fan experience, so people know when they purchase a Wet Ink or back a Wet Ink Games project, that they'll be able to get it more quickly. And I think,
I mean, this is a
a lot of
thing that
people
we've
don't even buy
been
our stuff on Kickstarter. They find us at cons.
sure.
So
I mean, this is a thing we've been saying literally for years, and it is hard to make sure it always happens, right? Because there's always something that comes up. Like that is part of a production process. You know, you can't guarantee, even if you've got the project to like a pretty good point before you take it to crowdfunding. You know, sometimes it still takes longer than you expect for any number of reasons. So it is, but yeah, we will continue to push to have our products be closer to finished than not. Um, you know, and I think that's sort of we've had enough success, I think, in the industry that we can do that, right? Like our first game as Wet Ink Games was like, hey, we've got an idea. We put it on the internet and we got some money, and then we knew we were going to print it eventually, and then we had to write it. And it took 2 years for our first game to come out. Um,
Right.
And sometimes you can do that and that's okay, but I think putting that 2 years of work before you take it to the public is a place we want to continue to push to be, you know.
Right.
So we've said, like I said, we've said that for years, and with our current, a lot of the current projects that are in hand, we have a lot of projects that are in development and no further release dates scheduled. Again, we're kind of jumping ahead with that to say that, but we don't know when our next project is going to be uh, on crowdfunding. Tentatively, we've got dates throughout 2025, but they got to get finished first. So
They got to get finished first.
all of those will be flexible as to what goes where. Um,
Now we can speculate. I
sure.
mean,
I mean, we know what is closest to the finish line.
absolutely.
Before we talk about those theoretical future projects, though, do you want to say anything more about Zero Day War coming out or Herd? I mean, I think
I
the
do.
conscious pivot, and again, this is not a secret. Wet Ink Games is adding board games and card games as a category that we work in, partly just because, partly because we play those kind of games and we want to publish designs in that space, and partly because there's a larger segment of the industry that is buying those games. And, we have the goal of Wet Ink being a financial success for ourselves, and opening up another line of business that caters to a larger market seems like a good business strategy. Um, and so that's what we've done this year. Our first board game is out and you could buy it. And our second one is funded and we'll soon be ordering it. So with
Yeah,
that setup, anything you want to say in particular about the way Zero Day War went, or now that it is actually through the process and potentially on store shelves?
yeah. I think in our last discussion, I think Zero Day War was starting to be in the hands of backers.
Yeah.
So it was right around 7 months from beginning to end, and I think that was a great success. I think Herd is going to be probably along those lines. By the time it's done, I'm hoping, knock on wood, if things go well, that we'll have it by Origins. Um, you know, if not Origins, Gen Con would be the big release for it. Um, it's a it's exciting to see the things that are lined up in that particular category for us. Zero Day War, Herd, the expansions and everything. There's already future work on additional stuff for Herd, which is good to see. The um, the most exciting part for me is that we have other things lined up already. We talked about in our last discussion, the Light Speeders game with Bill Lasik. Um, that game, the design is done. We've gotten tentative acceptance of our request from an artist that we want to work with
Right.
for that project. It's going to be spectacular, and that one uh, looks like it will probably be because the design is basically done. We just need to make sure the art timeline works out. That'll probably be in the second half of the year, most likely very
Hmm.
late in Q3. Um, but it's exciting. Like that's our next like board game. We have a
Yeah,
couple of we yeah,
that
we have a
that
couple other things that are like lined up. We have a card game as well, which we're trying to lock down an artist for on that
hmm
one, just
hmm
because of how much effort would be involved in a game that requires so much art.
there's a lot of cards in that one.
A lot of cards.
So yeah, I mean,
But we got to but that one is also moving. But it's cool to see that there's not only having solid, fun designs. Like I think Matt, we've talked about this, that they don't outstay their welcome on the table.
Oh yeah.
Um, it's like this game is fun for 45 minutes. Why am I playing it for 3 hours, right?
Oh yeah. I mean that right. That
We want to
is
have a game that's fun for 45 minutes, play in 45 minutes or
right.
less,
Right.
right?
Right. I mean it is yeah, it is sort of a an area that I feel and obviously every gamer is different, right? I mean, I'm not criticizing anyone who likes to have a number cruncher engine building, 4x kind of game that takes your afternoon. I mean, if you're having fun for that amount of time, I great. Every game should be fun for as long as you play it, and
Right.
uh I find myself very much gravitating toward games that are uh, you know, under an hour and a half tops, and I don't know if that's just where I'm at right now. So I'm having fun with games that are, like you just said, don't overstay their welcome.
Yeah, and I think, I like all kinds of games. And we've talked about, the games, the massive game collection and stuff, but um I just played a game the other day that I was learning to play it with a couple other people, and it was a game called Flock Together, and it
Hmm.
was a fun concept, you know, and it was fun for as long as we played it,
Yeah.
right? Even though we were learning it and we are like, ooh, we did this wrong at the beginning, but like, whatever. The next time we played it will be shorter, but it was still fun for everyone the entire time,
Yeah.
right? And I think that if you find a design that's like that, and when you get done with it, you're like, ooh, let's play again. You know, that's always fun. I think Zero Day War, I've told the story a couple of times where I taught my friend Nick, who is not a gamer, and retaught my wife because she was one of the early playtesters, um, you know, how to play Zero Day War with our production copy at a pub. We played it. Nick absolutely smoked us, who's again not a gamer. We went and got more beers, came back and played again.
Yeah.
Right? It was it was engaging enough that people wanted to dive into it again.
Yeah.
And I think it's that's a testament to the design and testament to the kind of stuff that we want to make.
Yeah. Uh,
Um, yeah,
on Christmas Eve, I played Camel Up with my wife's family, and 7 players. Technically, there were 2 players on one team, so it was 8 players. One team. But that's a lot of players to play a game, and that game
yeah,
does not that game moves. It does not stay around too long. And we did the same thing. Like we played it, everybody was like, "Well, good job, Krishna, you won." And then like, let's play again. And then we played again, and it is yeah it is that is such a good game, and I sing that game's praises nonstop because I love Camel Up. It's a great game exactly for that sort of very casual, like after dinner on Christmas Eve kind of family fun, and not every game is trying to do that, but those
right.
are the games that excite me most right now is games that do try to do that. So um
Yeah, one that's on my radar. And I picked it up at Gen Con. Just haven't gotten it to the table yet. It's Arcs, to kind of give you that 4x space experience in a shorter amount of time. And Leader Games generally puts out really well designed, fun, pretty products. Um, so I'm excited to dive into it. But that's also something that is a design space I'd like to see, wet ink kind of stretch into. Um,
Yeah,
you
we
know,
were definitely focused on smaller things to get started, and I think that's appropriate. But
oh
yeah,
yeah, no, 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 sure.
what's
But I'm still
what's
like sticking to our small box game thing. It's like, hey, can you have a fun space game in, you know, in an hour, right?
right? Can you
I don't
do
know.
Well, another one of my favorites. I haven't played it in a while, but like it used to be one of my top games. Touch of Evil, right? Like,
Yeah,
what's the faster, more modular sort of implementation of some of those same ideas? That would be pretty
it's
good.
it's Dark Gothic, the
Hmm.
card game. It is it's the same game.
Well, it is the same. Yeah, that's the same game, but uh, right. But we're not publishing that.
That's right.
What's the game that
That's right.
we could publish that gives a similar feel to that sort of like uh, you know,
Yeah. The
old-timey monster movie. Um,
yeah.
we
I
figured that's a space. Yeah, it's seeing what we can do in the space. Uh, both as I look, you know, we both love Blood Bowl Team Manager.
You love Blood Bowl Team Manager. It's a great game.
I was telling my wife just the other day about how like the lawyer version of Blood Bowl Team Manager is some game that I would like to make work. So um anyway, maybe we should work on that. We'll see. What does the future hold?
Yeah.
uh
Ideas are easy. Execution is hard.
sure is, sure is, sure is. Anything else we want to say about like I don't know. We've kind of not been as directed about the board game stuff, but like definitely it's an area for us that we'll be growing into and we're still working in, and other projects are in process. We're not going to stop right now. We're committed to at least a couple more games, and then if we've quote unquote made it as a board game company, then we'll keep doing them. So
Yeah.
that's where what the future looks like for that.
I think that's good. I want to see that keep growing in the way that I hope. We have our things that we're already signed and working with, and I think being able to see where they go from there,
Right.
that's going to be key.
Yeah, I think we're
RPGs are also going to keep on going. Our plus one
yeah,
games, like we said, and our
we
boxed
got
RPGs. We have had some really really fun and exciting conversations with Doug Lewandowski and Jansu Julian Kim.
yep.
Um, so
Home's been a big hit this year
so
in
we're
2024,
hoping to
so
see
got to keep talking to them about like
additional stuff,
more stuff. Um
and
that's a
then
that's it's a good one.
yep. So we're gonna keep those conversations going, and then uh, I think we kind of hinted at some of the things that we have coming in the next year. Like Matt had said, the closest thing, like we know kind of where our things are in queue, right? And like and how far things are progressing. And I think by the time, you know, Garbage and Glory and the Never Going Home, stretch goals are all out in PDF for everybody. I think that'll be pretty early on in Q1, and then like late in Q1, early Q2, knock on wood, we're able to, you know, bring to the world kind of the our next plus one game for our OMG Cats, right? It's our heckin' good doggos
Well,
analog for
yeah,
cats, right?
right.
That's the number one question we get when people see heckin' good doggos.
It's the number two
If
question.
they are cat people,
It's just the number two
where are the
question.
cats coming?
Yeah. The number one question is, ooh, what is this?
That's right.
But the number two question is, but do you have a cat version? So,
Right.
soon.
So that's the team that's working on that is going to be great. We're going to have Mike Muma still working on the fun art for that game.
Right.
Um, it's going to keep on coming, and going to have much of the same stuff that we had in Doggos, where you know people can back at a level where they can have their cat immortalized on a card for the card deck for OMG Cats. That's just
Yeah.
the way we're going.
Yeah. It's going to be great. That's Steffi Devon and Liz Practical are the two people working on that. we've got some other people backed up for or lined up for some adventures as well. But yeah, that is being written right now.
right now.
It's great, but that's
So,
happening. Uh,
but yeah, that's the thing I'm really looking forward to. We have some other RPGs and stuff, and boxed RPGs, and our system neutral things. These are all things that we have our four lines, and
and
each one of
there's
these things has things in it,
right,
uh, and while still making sure that we can deliver things in a timely manner. You know,
yeah,
we've been bit a couple of times recently, and we've had some great successes recently when it comes to delivering things quicker than we thought and anticipated. But I think we're also at that point where we're like, no, we want to get into that routine and
yeah. I mean,
sure we can move that forward.
I think we've talked about it a lot over the last year, but like we started Never Going Home, our third Never Going Home iteration and Garbage and Glory within a few weeks of each other. And so those four projects, because the Never Going Home was for three books, those four books have just kind of been been a big heavy item in the pack that we've been carrying along for a couple of years now. Obviously, getting the books themselves for Never Going Home completed and out um, this year is great. They've gone to backers. They're there. There's still some stretch goal stuff that we are wrapping up. We've got three big collections that have been through layout once. Notes are being made. They'll be going to backers and then they'll be on drive through eventually as well. Some really great adventures. The people being the third time that Never Going Home has been produced, like the caliber of some of the designers that these are people who have something to say with the system. And I think that's been pretty amazing to work with them to get these collections out. So I'm really excited to get those finally finished and out. But all that's been happening concurrently with Garbage and Glory, which is another one that it just there's so much work to do for a project, and trying to do all of those projects at once was a a bad idea, as it turns out in retrospect. The project is not as independent. They're not entirely separate, right? Because we're working on both of them. There's a lot of stuff to be done. Um, so the stretch goals, like I said, are in layout. I've been working this month on some of the solo game rule set that is part of the Never Going Home stretch goals. But we'll be getting all those stretch goals out, in the next couple of months. All of that will be certainly delivered, and then that one will be done, done, done. For
Be
Garbage and
done, done, done.
Glory, where the manuscript is right now is it is been to the editor. It's been back from the editor. All the art assets are into the manuscript. So when Garbage and Glory, when the Zero Day War or the Never Going Home stuff is finished, that is when Garbage and Glory will go to layout. So then,
Right.
we're looking at, I mean, we're recording this at the very end of December. You're watching this at the beginning of January, most likely. It'll be, you know, it won't be out in 2024, obviously. It's going to be out in 2025. Um,
But
but
I think,
early
the Garbage and
2025.
Glory layout, I think is, like you mentioned, all of that is, all of
No,
the
I happen to have one of the copies of the quick start right here beside
yeah,
me. Like
yeah,
the format for the layout, the template is already here. It's going to look exactly like this. So,
right. So it's
um,
basically done, like the layout templating, and so then it's
right.
putting the game and putting the text in there and assigning the art. I
But
think
the
that will not take an exorbitant amount of time, and it's
yeah,
just in
but
the
it'll
hand
take time.
layout now. So
That's where it is. It's in layout. At layout, ready to go next for the layout. And it's one of those things where, every time I work on it, right? Like a lot throughout 2024. Like I spent a lot of time in the beginning of the year getting the manuscript, contributing my pieces to the manuscript. And then I didn't look at it for the summer because we were doing con stuff and Never Going Home was getting finished and the layout for that was the priority. And then I came back to Garbage and Glory in the fall, and it was like, oh wow, this is real good. I forgot how good it was, and then getting working with stretch goal writers to get that stuff completed and polishing off the adventure, and then I sent off the manuscript. And then I didn't look at it for like a month or more because the editor was going through it and I, had other stuff that we were
And then
and
you have
but
to get back, you have to get those gears working
well,
when you start looking back at it.
but it's also sort of like a reset where you're like
Yeah.
you can kind of you do have to get back up to speed a little bit, but you're also sort of like you've cleared your head about it, right? Where um when I was struggling for the last few weeks of I don't even remember when. I guess it was probably October. I sat down and I had remembered that there were about 8 things that I needed to fix in the Garbage and Glory manuscript. And so I had my list. Like, these are the 8 things that you need to fix. You need to resolve this discrepancy between the way these two rules got worded, right? And then so I was like, great,
I,
I've got 7 things
love it.
left on, and every day I was posting in our collaboration platform
And it'll be
about
like,
like,
oh, I found these other things.
yeah, it was like, okay, I have 5 things to do on my to-do list. I finished 3 things, found 4 more things. So I have like 7 things left to do. After doing 4 things today, I have 7 things left to do on my to-do list of
Right.
6. And I went back and counted at the end, and it was the number I remember is 44. I fixed 44 inconsistencies between like either rule sets, or I clarified a word, or I double checked the NPC names were spelled
Yeah.
the same way, or all of my to-dos, right? And one of those to-dos was balance the stat blocks of the monsters, which I did. And that's much bigger than like doing a find replace to make sure that you've got your NPC names spelled correctly. Um,
Right.
you know, I, but it's still I counted on my list as one thing, right? But like there was a lot of cleanup to do right at the end of the process, and that's not different than any other manuscript.
No, absolutely not.
When you bring a creative team together and everybody's got great ideas and they're all contributing their good ideas, it still has to be somebody has to go through and resolve all the remaining differences, right? And reread the manuscript. And I got distracted by this story, but like the point of what I was saying is that like your head is in sort of like a gunked up space when you get through that process and you're like, I cannot look at this anymore. I've been too intensely looking at it for this period of time. I need to send it away to somebody else and they can
This
look
is
at
the
it.
this is the 3 Mile Island situation, right?
It
Where,
is. It is the 3 Mile Island
it's
situation.
like
So
everyone during
yeah,
the near meltdown, people were freaking out and panicking, like, oh my gosh, what do we do? What do we do? What do we do? And the anecdote is that they called someone in had who'd been off, comes back in and like looks at an indicator, hits a button, and things
right.
start working, right? It was like, but everyone else was so like nose
They
down into the issue, and they had been trying to solve other things
right.
that they didn't recognize this other thing, right?
Right.
Coming at something with a fresh pair of eyes, or once it comes back from the editor,
Right. I've
it,
had
it gives you an
time.
opportunity to reset, right?
Right. I've had time to refresh. And so
Right.
though it's taken those time periods have been, I mean, I looked at like the document and like February to April, there was a lot of work on the document. And then there wasn't really any work on the document until October. And that's like, well, what were you doing for, between April and October? It's like, well, I was going to Gen Con and I was finishing Never Going Home and I was, doing there's any number of other things that have happened this year.
Oh yeah.
But
Well,
also
again,
that but
we're a,
that
we're a two-man shop. Like we've
right. But what I'm saying is that that time is valuable because then you come back to it with a fresh eye. And every time that this is the final point that I've been trying to get to this point. I'm so excited to bring Garbage and Glory out to the people because every time I have come back to it after one of these, like I worked on it for a while, I had other things to do. I came back to it. I was like, oh, this is pretty good. I worked on it for a while. I had sent it off to the editor. came back to me, and I'm looking at the manuscript again for the first time in weeks, and I'm going through it. And I'm like, this is pretty good, and I anticipate having that same reaction, right? It's gone to layout. Layout will take weeks. It'll come back to me. I won't have looked at it with that intensity in weeks, and I anticipate that I'll have the same reaction. I'll be like, this is pretty good,
Right.
especially in that final stage when you've got the paper textures and all of Sam's art, and it's not, just a text document. It's now got colored titles and, pictures of, all the garbage art that Sam has done will be used as spot art throughout the book and stuff like that. I mean, it will look amazing, I think, because all the pieces will finally be together once it's in layout. And I've been happy with it at every stage. And I, I'm so excited for it. I'm so excited for it
It
to to
it's going to be great.
to 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 give it to the people, to give it to the backers and the fans and the people who've asked us, so when is Garbage and Glory coming out at cons all year long? It's like it's being worked on. It's being worked on. It's being worked on, and it is now very close to done because it's in one of the last stages. It's going to go to layout, and then after layout, it goes to people to see it, and it also goes to printing, and then there's still more steps, but then
Sure.
it's
That's yes, there are more
there's
steps.
so many steps. It's not done until it's finally done. But
Those are all the steps that that I get to deal with.
yeah, yeah. I mean, you right. I mean, we're already right. And right now, I mean, we can say here at the beginning of the year, like I said earlier, we had thought perhaps we would have Garbage and Glory at PAX Unplugged. That didn't work out that way.
It will be in the hands of backers well before Origins in the
Well, that's what,
yeah,
yeah, that's what I was leading to. Like it'll go out to people in probably Q2 by the time it gets through production and it printed and sent to people.
right.
Um,
Before it will be in the hands of backers before it is in, with us at a convention. That is for
Almost
sure.
certainly, almost certainly. And um, if not, something has drastically gone wrong. Um, but we're looking forward to having sort of a big release party, not like an actual, not a party, but like Origins is where we met Sam in the first place. So to have the game available first at Origins to the general public is like an exciting synergy thing.
Yeah,
And we're looking forward to that for, Origins 2025. So,
yeah.
months
Gonna
from
have
now,
a new,
months from
gonna
now.
have a new banner. We're good. More
Ooh,
Garbage and Glory stuff.
yeah.
It'll be
It'll
fun.
be it'll be a focus, along
It'll be
with Herd. I mean, Herd and Garbage and Glory will be our two biggest things. It'll be out at con season next year, I think.
yeah.
Um, so all
So
right. Well, I talked about a bunch about Garbage and Glory, probably more than I needed to. Any other things we kind of already talked about what comes next? Is there anything that you want to wrap up with?
um no, I think I mean, I think we covered it with Garbage and Glory. I mean, I think that's um you know the by the time this actually goes out, people will have already known that it is in layout. We may even have, I mean, because if this is planning to drop, early on,
This will be
I
first week
know,
of 2025.
yeah, I know for a fact that the graphic designer is laying it out this coming weekend. So by the time this particularly drops, we may have stuff, at least some things to show. Um, I don't know for certain, but that's, the news that it is in layout will have already been sent to, backers. They'll be able to see it, or know that it is there. We'll have stuff to show in the coming days.
Yeah.
Um, and that's good. That's always exciting to see. I think I want to be able to. I want people to be involved in that process, being able to feel that they have that ownership of the thing that they helped bring to life, right?
Yeah.
Um, so anyway, no, Garbage and Glory is going to be great. I'm excited, super excited.
Yeah. It's it's uh it's nice to have the idea. I mean, we've done several ideas at this point that um, come from us, and then we've also worked with designers who bring ideas to us. And so, Garbage and Glory is one of those ones that came from us as a pair of people who saw a thing and was like, we can make a game out of this. And so to see it so close to done and having worked on it this whole time, it's like it's going to be what we wanted it to be. Um, which that's exciting, to have an idea and to put together the team and work with the creators to make it the thing that you thought it could be. That's a
Right.
fun thing. Um, so looking forward to it. Looking forward to it. All right. Well, I think we did it. We talked for at least an hour. I wasn't looking at the timer, but I don't think there's anything else to say other than thanks everybody for continuing to support us as Wet Ink Games. You know, backing our projects and sharing our posts, sharing the posts on Facebook and coming to see us at cons. We love all of that. We love to talk to you about the games. We love to hear your stories about playing the games. We love it when somebody comes up to the booth and has a friend and it's like, let me tell you about this game. And like we can just stand back and like watch a fan, a supporter convince someone else to be a fan or a supporter. Um, and that's that's it's fantastic to know that we are as a company putting out those kind of products that other people are excited to tell their friends about. Um, and so thank you for doing that and coming to see us at cons and yeah, keep supporting us because that's how this keeps rolling forward.
It's how it keeps rolling.
Um,
Absolutely.
yeah. So uh yeah, that's all I got. Thanks as always for the support.
All right. Thank you.
All right, we'll see you on the next one.